Righty, everyone. Welcome back to the GPK podcast. And today I have my client Ken with me. Ken, thank you so much for joining me.
You're very welcome, Billy. Nice to speak to you again.
It is nice to speak to you, mate. And we were connected over in Scotland recently, mate, in Glasgow. It was good to catch you after working online together for so long.
Yeah, it was great. It was fantastic to meet you in the flesh, so to speak, round about the Open, which was really good fun. I hope you enjoyed your day. I managed to get to 3 days at the end of it, and yeah, got to see some fantastic golf. But yeah, it was great to meet you. And yeah, you were you're very welcome in Scotland anytime.
For sure. And after leaving Scotland, it's hard to play golf again in Australia because we've we've got some link style courses typically further down south, but there's nothing quite like it. I played a couple of nice courses over there, but even I
Hmm.
spoke to my brother recently. I said we've got to go back and do just 2 weeks of just pure golf and get through Scotland, a bit of Ireland, and just really play as much as we can.
Yeah, definitely. You've got to do it. Got to do it.
100%. So for any of the listeners out there, need to try and get to Scotland for some golf. But Ken, we've been working together for a number of months now, and obviously you're on the other side of the world, which is really cool. But do you mind giving the listeners a bit of a background how you got into your golf, mate, and where your golf journey's gone to and from?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, I'm now 61, and I've been playing golf for years and years and years. I played initially as a boy. Probably gave it up for quite a while just with work commitments and very traveling around and whatnot. And then came back to it. I go to a golf coach regularly, but not frequently. And we work on various things, and it just keeps it fresh. I'm now playing off 12.7, which is I can now I'm playing to that, which is good. I'd like to get down to single figures, and that was really why I contacted you and said, yeah, quite like to try this. I need to get stronger. I need to get more flexible. I need to get fitter. And you hopefully help me get my handicap down by doing that. And it's been
Yeah.
great. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah, I do usually 3 workouts a week. We've increased it now to 4 with a flexibility or mobility one at the weekend. And yeah, you keep pushing me and you keep pushing me hard, which is fine, which is fine.
Yeah, for anyone listening, we've done plenty of core work over the period, and we've
Oh,
built up
yes.
we've built up the strength over time. And
Yeah.
before we get too far into the details, Ken, before getting started working with me, was there any reservations, pardon me, about starting a program online, specifically with me being overseas as well?
I guess probably not actually because I work in in healthcare, and COVID brought with it lots of challenges, but also lots of things that we now do differently that we never did before. So, working online or doing things online is commonplace now. Zoom or whatever other platform people use. We certainly use it all the time for medical work. And yeah, the fact that I don't actually see you physically is it's not really an issue. In fact, I don't think it's an issue at all because we catch up on a monthly basis. So yeah, no real reservations, and even since it started, I've been very pleased with how it's going.
Yeah, that's great, mate. And with the routine, obviously we're training pretty consistently, which is great, and we can get into the nitty-gritty as we go on with the podcast. But do you mind telling the audience about what you were doing prior to working with me, if you had a particular routine or exercise structure?
So exercise and I have kind of been long-term friends come enemies. When I was younger, I used to row competitively at an representative level. So I was quite fit, quite strong at that time. That's a long time ago now. And I tried gyms, didn't really work for me. I've never had a personal trainer before. So I just kind of did my own thing, which I found was hard to maintain because there was no real accountability. So yeah, working with someone has actually been really beneficial in that respect.
Mm, yeah, and it's interesting. Everyone has different things that suit them, especially when it comes to training, whether it's working one-on-one with someone, working online as we are. But like you say, I think accountability is a really important piece. And I guess the way that I typically work is that we do an assessment, which is done online. We try and get some details around your flexibility, your vertical leap for power, your core endurance, doing plank tests. And I guess we set up a baseline for you that we can obviously
Yeah,
revisit along the way too.
yeah, that's really important, I suppose. From we test it, we put in place a program, bits and pieces of the program. You tweak it every week, and then we retest it again. And seeing progress is hugely encouraging. And it's slow, steady progress, but it's steady and it's consistent, which is good. And I actually I do feel the better for it physically, mentally, and hopefully my golf will will be improving as well.
Yeah. And you said you came up a good round just this afternoon, mate.
Yeah, so I went out. Anyone who's listening who lives in Scotland will know that it's been a somewhat wet summer. The course is pretty soggy, but I managed to play 18 holes today. Went around at 80, which was two under my handicap, with a couple of birdies as well. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's good. Yeah.
That's very good, mate. And I guess you where you sit now in terms of your work career as well, it sounds like you're only going to get more time to play golf, which is great. And you do visit the warm parts of Spain, so I think that will open up some
Yeah,
more opportunity to
yeah,
practice.
absolutely. Yeah, I'm at an age now where hopefully in the not too distant future I can actually properly retire and stop working altogether, and then that will free me up to play more golf and spend more time hopefully in Spain as well, where the sunshine is much more reliable than in Scotland. Let's put it that way.
Definitely. And Ken, let's talk a bit more about the workout structure that you've mentioned just before. So, you mentioned we do 4 days of training. What does that training look like for you? Home versus gym, what equipment you're
Yeah,
using, etc.
so I do it all at home. Most of it indoors. I do a little bit of a speed stick work outside. I can't obviously do that inside, but yeah. So one day is lower body, one day is upper body, one day is core, and then more recently you've introduced a mobility session on usually the weekend to try and further improve my flexibility, which yeah, I guess as you get older, you get a bit stiffer. You're not quite as flexible as you were when you're younger. So working at it is good, and I do feel better for it actually. Yeah, even though it's hard sometimes.
And it's almost if you do some sort of training, it's you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, I believe. So when you're doing some exercise, it's going to push you a little bit. You might feel some
Mm,
sore afterwards. But if you don't, on the other hand, typically you'll get the muscle weakness, lack of flexibility, balance starts to go.
yeah,
So yeah, we with exercise, we're going to expect to feel a certain way, whether that's fatigue or soreness. But like you mentioned earlier, mate, you start to feel these physical benefits, mental benefits.
mm, yeah,
As you know, as a doctor, the importance of staying healthy and strong is one of the biggest predictors of lifespan as well, especially when it comes
yeah,
to muscle mass. So
yeah,
it's so
absolutely.
important.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do it all at home. I've got some dumbbells. I've got some kettlebells. I've got various resistance bands, and I manage, yeah, all the exercises that you set. I've got ways to do them. I've also got some bits and pieces in Spain, so when I do go to Spain, I can manage it there as well, in the sunshine, outdoors all the time.
For sure. And some people think they need a full gym to get started, but obviously you're a great testament to having a few bits and pieces, using your body
Yeah,
weight as leverage as
yeah,
well. And
yeah,
even a lot of these things you could almost do at your golf course in like a locker room or something like that
yeah,
too.
yeah. Yeah, a lot of, I mean, yeah, you've got a fantastic warm-up routine, which I now do some of before I go to the course and some when I get to the course. Um, excuse me, sorry. Yeah, just to try and be ready on the first tee rather than pitching up, getting out the car, getting the clubs and thinking, oh, crikey, I've whacked that one into the rough on the first. That's not very clever. So, yeah. It's just being intentional about it. And you don't need lots of equipment. You really don't need lots of equipment. You don't need a gym membership. You don't need lots of equipment. You can get away with fairly basic stuff.
Yeah, I'd certainly agree with you, Ken. And do you mind talking a little bit about what you were doing before your rounds then? And do you mind talking about what you used to feel then in the body before and after you played? Because you've mentioned now you're not feeling as fatigued or potentially tired.
Mm, yeah. So previously, I basically I didn't do anything. If I was going to play somewhere with some mates, we would maybe turn up and go to the range and hit 20, 30 balls, whatever, and then pitch up to the first. And it would usually take a few holes to get loosened off and going. Um, I now would quite intentionally do the warm up routine that you've got, and actually then get onto the first tee feeling properly warmed up, flexible, and not stiff, and can go from basically the first shot. Um, the whole thing has improved I guess my strength, my flexibility, so that I can play 18 holes quite comfortably, and don't normally feel fatigued towards the end, unless it's a particularly hot day and I've probably not hydrated properly. And the next day, I'm fine. I'm great. I'm itching to go again,
I didn't know you get
which
hot
is
days.
different than it used to be.
Definitely. And I didn't know you get hot days in Scotland, Ken.
Yeah, you get three a year.
For sure. And
Uh,
I was laughing about, I think I told you I left from Brisbane, obviously our winter into your summer, colder on your side of the woods, but it was refreshing in a way. Obviously feeling a bit of cold and you just pack
yeah,
your jumper with you in your wet gear and away you go.
yeah, yeah. That's it. Yeah. So when I go to Spain, I don't, yeah, don't take any waterproofs. Don't take any wet gear with me. If I get wet, I get wet. It's usually warm rain, and it's over in an hour.
Definitely. And obviously, as we've progressed through the program, you've improved in your movement, your general strength, which is great to see. And as you've mentioned, we've done a little bit of speed training. Can you talk about your experience with speed training products then?
Yeah, so I've got speed sticks, which I've had for a little while. My golf coach talked about them, well, probably a couple of years ago, and I decided to invest in them. My speed, my club head speed was sitting about 85, which is not that it's not really that great. I guess when you get older, you're not quite as fast, but I had several long conversations with him about how do I get the ball further with a driver, because I'm struggling here. And he said, well, get speed sticks, work out, and I'm now up to, I haven't quite broken 90 yet. I got up to 89 and a half the last time he measured it. So yeah, getting there. The target is probably about 90, 95. I think 100 is probably unrealistic, but if I can get to 95, and that's another 15, 20 yards with a driver, then yeah, I'll be pretty happy. The key, of course, is keeping it on the short stuff. I'd rather not hit it quite as far and straight every time than further and into the rough.
That's it. And it's a tricky balance because we want to obviously try and maintain fairways hit and have good distance. In the perfect world, you'd be
Yeah,
hitting hitting it as long as possible and straight. But
yeah.
yeah, we need to obviously make sure that it's dialed in. How do you approach that? Because it is a tricky balance. Like when it comes to the course, what percentage of your max swing do you feel like you're swinging at, and do you have any certain strategies around that?
Um, when it comes to the course, yeah, I probably don't max it out every time because the course I play at has a lot of very deep, deep, horrible rough that you know just don't bother looking because you know you'll find half a dozen balls before you find yours. So yeah, it's more about just trying to keep it in play, but ideally being able to keep it in play 20, 30 yards further on would be, I suppose, is my goal. Occasionally there's a couple of holes where it's very wide and two fairways essentially run together with some fairly thin trees between them. And I'll have a good old smash. I did one today actually, which was yeah, it was oh yes, loved that one. Absolutely smoked it up the middle. Yeah, so generally speaking, it's less than max because I just want to make sure I'm trying to get it in play.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great way of approaching it. And with the speed training, we want our baseline speed to come up organically, obviously.
Yeah.
And yeah, we want our new sub-maximal to be just generally faster than what it was before we
Yes.
started speed
Yeah.
training. And I
Absolutely.
think you're doing exactly what the pros do. They generally probably swing at 85, 90%. And when it comes to a par five that's open wide, they give it a good crank and obviously get it further down there. So no,
Yes.
I think you're approaching that the exactly right way. And for people that haven't tried speed training, make sure that you are physically prepared before doing it because it
Yeah.
can be
It
quite
it's
a
it's pretty yeah, if you once you start to kind of ratchet up the programs with the what that come with the speed sticks, yeah, it's a quite an intense workout actually. So you've got to start gently. Make sure I think you would possibly say the same. You want to be invest in some general training before you start with speed sticks. Otherwise, you might end up tearing something or feeling this is not really helping.
yeah, that's certainly it. And a lot of people have come to me saying that they've tried it before, they've got injured, and
Hmm.
I think it's typically being underdone, and a lot of people tend to skip the warm-ups as well. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think we can try and get into a decent physical condition, then have a solid warm up. That's certainly going to reduce the ability to get injuries. And also the other thing, because it is such a excess load on the body, we need to make sure that we're getting into that in a slow manner. If you do speed training
Hmm.
5 or 6 days a week, that might not be the best way to approach it either.
No, no, I completely agree. Completely agree. Yeah.
Yeah. And Ken, you've been so good with your time, mate. But if someone's listening to this podcast now and is sitting on the fence about getting into a golf fitness routine, what would you say to someone?
Uh, I think it's the best thing I've done, and it's the best thing they can do. It made is still making an enormous difference to me with my golf, but also with my general fitness, health, and well-being. So yeah, just go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, can't agree more, mate. And I think a lot of people are very quick to invest in their clubs and other bits of golf equipment, and the body tends to be the last investment they make. So
Yeah,
I'm very biased, obviously, being a physio and probably yourself being a doctor, but it has huge benefits on and off the course, I believe. So
yeah.
couldn't agree with you more. But Ken, I appreciate your time, mate. I appreciate you as a client, and we'll catch up very soon.
Thanks very much, Billy. You take care.
Thank you, mate.